Welcome, everybody, to the Battlefront to Homefront podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Jones. Your other host, Sean MacPhee here. And I'm with Sober Life Studios. And Sean, you're with Mission United.
Yes, I am. I've been with them about 8 months now, but I've worked side by side with them for the last 7 years.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. And let's just give them an idea, because we're going to talk about so many different things. We really want to raise some awareness. Mission United sounds like there should be a mission. What is Mission United's mission? What are they doing?
The primary goal is to provide direct services and knowledge to veterans as well as their family members to understand those that have hit hard times or financial issues on how to guide them through the process, and being the primary point of contact to help direct those family members to whatever services they need in order to get back on track.
Now, is there something very specific you go in, because we're saying Battlefront to Homefront? Do you do a lot of work with housing, homes? Is that like a major focus for what you're doing?
Our primary goal is housing first, because our motto believe that if we can get them into stable housing, that will take part of a good portion of what they need in order to get back on their feet before we direct them to other services. But that's our main goal, is primarily get them in a place that they can feel safe and put a roof over their health and secure.
So this being our first episode, you might have caught Sean. We did some a pilot. We did some other things, and he's been on one of my other shows. But you have a military background, and so when you came out of the service, this was a good fit for you. Tell us, where did you serve and what did you do?
Oh, well, I served about 24 years in the U.S. Navy. I've served on both East Coast and West Coast on several different style ships. I started out in San Diego. Then I went to Jacksonville. Then I served in the Naval Academy. Then I ended up in Texas. Then I ended up in Tennessee. And then I finished my tour in San Diego. So my time in the Navy, I was primarily a ship navigator, an enlisted version. So it was my job to make sure the ship got from point A to point B. And
people are just going to want to know, what kind of ships are you talking about?
Oh, type of ship of different sizes. The smallest ship that I served on was a minesweeper out of Ingleside, Texas. It was approximately about 224 feet long. And the largest ship I served on was the amphibious assault ship, the new San Antonio class USS San Diego, was roughly about 800 feet long. So I've served on Aegis cruisers, and their most common ones that most people know because they're easier to build is the new destroyer types, the Arleigh Burke classes.
Oh, okay. So the days of the old battleships, are those gone, or do we still have those out there?
We actually still have them. They were actually called up to service back in Desert Storm, but they were put back in mothball. They're museums now.
Okay.
But despite the fact, the movie Battleship because it's movie graphics, but can those ships be put back into service? Yes, they can be, but economically, no, because of their fuel, their size, their outdated, equipment.
Right.
But there would really have to be a big need to bring those ships back into service now.
Gotcha. But lots of cool stuff to check out, with the Navy yards and stuff like that. Just for fun, is there any place people can go to see these things, or to learn about it, or to tour ships? Is there any?
Oh yeah, there's definitely anywhere. You can always find them online. Like there was one time I was assigned to the USS Way City, a Aegis cruiser out of Mayport. We actually came down to Fort Lauderdale area, down to the Everglades, and the local group had invited us down, and we brought people on for tours. It's not uncommon that you can find, especially during Fleet Week.
Yeah,
is the big ones are like the big cities like New York, San Diego, San Francisco.
Sure.
But people don't understand that sometimes if you do a little homework, you can find out that they'll bring down to smaller cities. They'll come down and say, hey, here's some ships, cool. And you can tour them. A lot of museums are there available. Pretty much a lot of military bases have, especially like when I was stationed in San Diego, they put their museum outside of the gate so that way the civilian people didn't have to worry about trying to get through the gates, get permission. They could actually go visit the museum right outside the gate.
Wow, that's cool. Hey, listen, keep watching this show, because one of the things we'll do is we'll let people know if there's something going on like that.
Oh, definitely.
Just kind of fun, because we certainly want to support and promote the military. We certainly want to do that, or as far as, just learning about the military and stuff. But now let's talk about, 24 years, and thank you for your service, obviously.
Thank you for your support.
Do you get a lot of responses about you being 24-year veteran? Do you get a lot of people thanking you and stuff these days, or are we still?
Yeah. It's since the whole Desert Storm, Iraq, and stuff that people have been a little bit more, promoting veterans and a lot more open to that.
That's
so
cool.
Yeah, I find that a lot more people are especially even employers are open to hiring veterans with skill sets because it brings a unique individual to their skill sets.
Right.
But I do run into people from time to time that are anti-military. They have a concept that still dates back that were warmongers, baby killers was what they had during Vietnam. They got spit on for that kind of thing. So yeah, there are still, I've run into quite a few people over the years that are anti-military. So,
but there's a lot of people out there. There's more attention being brought, I think, to our veterans now than there was before. We're understanding more about trauma and understanding more about reintegration, that it's not always successful. And matter of fact, more often than you want to know, reintegration back into society is a hard thing for them.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important for missions like Mission United, the United Way putting this together, and you joining in and doing that stuff is so important now. Because we are putting a face to the veterans now.
Yes.
And that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, it's a lot more. I mean, especially after 9/11, because it's not just military, it's first responders. There seems to be a light on people, see police and fire trucks go by every day. And now after 9/11, there's more focus on what military and first responders are doing for the public. I mean, we don't do it for the pay. There's a calling. Someone just doesn't, say, hey, I'm joining a police force for the money. There's a reason behind it. The same thing why a majority of most people who join the military, there's a calling. There's a reason on why they're joining. I mean, we each have our own reason, but there's a lot more to it. Yeah, you see more of the coming home from the war videos. You see them showing up and surprising their kids early. Matter of fact, I had that opportunity. I actually came back 2 weeks early and did that same thing. I surprised my kids. They were quite shocked when I showed up home early, so they were very happy.
That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. And with all this added exposure, you would assume there would be added services and a lot more services going on, and they should be treated, much better than they are.
Yeah.
Still a struggle to get the services up to all the people that it needs to get to, right?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is. There is a lot of services. They've actually come a long way. They've added a lot more services. The VA has come a long way. They're still not quite perfect yet, but they're doing their best. But one of the issue that comes along is getting that knowledge to people. It's like they are not aware. And, sometimes, the funding streams restricts you on how you can promote those services. So we rely on a lot of people of word of mouth or outreach specialists like I do. It's my job to go out and educate people on the services that are available to them. And hopefully, making a better, stronger community to help our veterans and their families come to understand, there's nothing wrong with asking for help and what those services look like on how we can help them improve their situations.
I think the assumption is that the VA is underfunded. They're not getting enough. They can't get enough done. People are waiting. And this is just the media and different things, even movies and TV. It's always like this bad view of the VA. People, they're waiting 6 months or a year for appointments and things like that. Is that stuff really going on? I mean, let's be honest about it. And we're not knocking.
Oh, yeah.
The people at the VA I've met, and these are wonderful people that do a great job as much as they can. But are they underfunded? Are they understaffed? Are they, are they falling?
I wouldn't say so much as falling behind, but a lot of services are just now catching up. Yes, a few years ago, it was very difficult. Calling up, I needed an eye appointment. I had to schedule that 6 months out, and there was no guarantee that even when it got around to that time frame, they wouldn't cancel it. It's not uncommon. I mean, your doctors do become sick. Things come up. But it's very difficult even now that if I cancel an appointment, there's no telling when I'll get another appointment or how long it will be. But they are doing much better because they changed the law now that if the clinic or the hospital is unable to service you in a reasonable time, you can request those services be done out in the civilian world. So it's making it much easier. About a year or two ago, my own situation, I suffer from kidney stones. I had a kidney stone issue it's either drive an hour to Miami or drive an hour or so to West Palm because that's where the hospitals were. So I called the helpline. So, hey, listen, I'm going through these issues. They said, no worries, just go to the local emergency room. And I filled out all the paperwork and they just built the VA. So it makes things much easier. Plus, even now, they have an online instant messenger kind of format that I can do video chats with my health providers for if it's easier on my schedule as well as theirs, or I can actually text or send them instant messages, and then within a couple hours I have a response. So things are getting better. They're not.
That's
there
fantastic. That is all good stuff. I mean, just the fact that they're saying, listen, if we cannot service you in a reasonable amount of time, you have the right to go somewhere else.
Yes, and
that we will cover you for that. So that's important. But there's a lot of different things going on now. Most people don't know that, that's new stuff. They don't know that they're catching up with the technology and they're using the online services. And they're, why aren't we giving any attention to that and having banners and billboards everywhere and everybody knowing all these services are there? Why aren't we doing that? Is that a mistake that's being made, or is it just something where?
No, it's a financial issue.
Okay.
Especially any organization that receives grants or funds from a government or a federal entity. There's lines in it. It all comes down to funding. Do you spend $1 million on advertisement, or do you spend $1 million on services? So you have, unfortunately, even like in our school systems, when they have to pick and choose, do they keep band or do they keep a science class?
Right.
So that's a lot of what it comes down to as bureaucrat is what can you spend the money on and when can't you spend the money on? And that's a lot of the issues is the information is there. But if you don't know where the information is, how are you going to find it? So, like I said, is by building a stronger community between all the community partners and getting that information directly into the hands of those that need it makes it much easier, but it's still a long road until they can actually start making more cost effective for advertisements. I saw it with Career Source Broward did that recently. They started putting those silk screens on buses. They actually got permission to use some of the funding to put up a billboard. They saw a huge increase of foot traffic because people now were not only did they know the name, but they knew what the services were.
Wow. So all these holes have existed for a long time. And they, like you said, some are getting better, some are not, slower to get better, but we are moving in a positive direction. At what point was Mission United created, and how did that come about? Did they see like a gap in a service that they thought they could help with? How did that work?
Yeah. So United Way gathered several prominent community figures. One of them being Stephen Moss, who led the Mission United initiative that they put in charge of the group.
Okay.
Is that around 2013 there were significant funding cuts. They were seeing that particularly in a lot of different areas. Fundings were being cut in different services. There was an increase of homelessness in veterans, even though overall the country was having a reduce in number of homeless people, but that's overall. But when you start narrowing it down by states and stuff, Florida had a large increase of not only veterans, but students, college students, high school students. There was a large group of not only the veterans, but their dependents becoming homelessness. And they got together and said, we need to do something about it. We got to figure out some way. So they got with Stephen Moss and several other gentlemen and said, listen, we want you to come up with it. It's all yours. We'll back it. So they got together and said, okay, so they powwowed it out and said, okay, so what is it that our drive? So we need to get them off the street. So they developed the Mission United policy. Then they reached out to community figures. They reached out to politicians. If we created this process, would you support it? Mission United wants to be the forefront, the point of contact to call first. Who do you call when somebody call us first? And then we'll walk it and streamline it and make your life easier to those different community partners. And that's how it took off. After about a couple months of putting this together, it took off right off the bat. They were helping veterans with homelessness, helping people get off the street. We've seen quite a few of the individuals that we've helped over the years. They're now actually community partners with us. They're now working for our community partners, bringing that back in the fold from what we were able to help them with. And now we're in approximately about 28 United Ways, the whole initiative. So you figure from 2013 to now, we're in 28 United Ways as an initiative. There's 8 of us here in Florida that are predominant. We're about to open one in Okeechobee.
Right.
We are providing the direct services. Now, a lot of the United Ways have a service for veterans, but they don't provide the direct service themselves. They refer, but they're slowly bringing that model on. So you figure there's 28, 27 of us, soon to be 28, of providing direct services to their families and making sure that they're connected with these services they need. And it's exploded. We're getting bigger and bigger. Matter of fact, Mission United, I can't remember, we were just talking the other day, we just hired in the last 2 months 20 individuals because we're expanding so fast. We need SMEs, subject matter experts, to come on board and help us to keep this program from failing.
You know, the United Way has been around for so long.
About 85 years.
Yeah. So they know what they're doing. And they know they have a pretty good idea about what projects they really should take on and shouldn't. So them making a decision to dive into this and to create the Mission United program and do all that actually speaks volumes. It's not like some new kid on the block said, hey, let me just figure out a way to build a nonprofit or do something like that. This is from an established firm that's got 85 years experience in helping people. And now to specifically help the veterans, being a part of that. And you say it's expanding. Now, are we talking about Florida? Are we talking about all over the United States?
All over the states. We just recently we opened one in North Carolina.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're in several states. I mean, 27 is not just here in Florida. It's 27 nationwide. So, I mean, we're constantly expanding in these new areas. Like, Okeechobee is Stephen Moss is still heavily involved with Mission United, had met with individuals in Okeechobee in their city, and they were talking about Mission United, and he said, well, how do we get it here? So he brought them to us. We sat down and said, okay, let us help build you the structure and help get this off the ground. So that's what we're doing. We're working. I have connection with my counterparts who are in that city, helping them guide to the processes that I've already learned to help them grow to the same status as we are. So it's very exciting.
You've got the direct services where you do, which are a lot about the housing and getting them into a place where it's they can build and they can do what they need to do. But there's so many other services they need. You mentioned it several times, making these connections with other people, including the VA.
Yeah.
What kind of relationships do you build? I mean, does the VA get upset that you're stepping on toes? Are they supportive of you guys? How's that working out? Because I'd love to know that the agencies are working well together.
Fantastic question. We actually have places that we actually have our employees working in other community partners. They're our employees, but we pay them to work on hands with them. And one of the things that we have with the VA, we have a veteran resource center that we opened up about a year or two. It's just down the street from the Fort Lauderdale courthouse. Is we actually have a desk where the VA person actually works with us in our office. They're directly there so that a person can walk in and actually talk to the people who work in the VA for those processes. So we have a very close connection with the VA because, as we move along and they move along, we share information. So we work very closely with them to make sure that the veterans who are not already, those that are actually transitioning out, as well as those that are veterans are out, making sure that they're aware of these services so that they can actually talk to the person, not a computer email. They can sit down with a social worker, or they can sit down with an employment specialist, or they can sit down with what they call a veteran service officer who can help them with their claim, because filing your disability claim is like filing your taxes, line B to line A. And if you don't know, you could seriously miss out on services or opportunities to be opportunity because you forgot to fill in that one blank. So that's what the veteran service officer, and again, all these services are at no cost.
I can't even fathom. I know that I've made a mistake on paperwork for whatever, getting a loan or for doing this or for doing that. But, without help and guidance, I mean, one mistake can cut you off from life-saving services, not just regular services. Like all sorts of stuff can happen there. So, that must be a real point for you guys, is to make sure that all the lines are, the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, and all that stuff too.
Oh yeah, it was even fantastic with the VA. We brought in, the rep asked us that the VA actually came to our location in Fort Lauderdale at our office and set up shop. And then we put it out to the community that the VA and all their resources, they brought in several different people from different departments. They even brought in what they call the MWR, the Morale, Welfare, Rec group, talking about discounts for tickets and all that kind of stuff. That's how extensive they brought in the people. And trying to remember what they said, we had about 60 people come through, and somewhere about 20 of them were first-time veterans filing their disability claims.
Wow.
So by having that resource and giving them the direct information and having somebody actually sit down with them and go, yes, let's look at your records. Yes, you can claim that. No, you can't claim that. Hey, let's talk about, let's talk about the MWR. Okay, so we did all the medical stuff. Now let's talk about all the cool discounts for, vacation trips and all this other stuff that you're entitled to benefits. And it was very great for them because a lot of them were talking about, well, I haven't received this claim and so they were able to fix all those issues in one location in a single day.
Do people time out on these things? I mean, if you're a veteran, you get out, you don't realize that what's available to you. You don't realize the what you can get from the VA, what you can get from services like Mission United, and they end up in the street for 10 years, which happens, unfortunately.
Yes.
We know this. Are they timed out on getting help, or does that never time out?
That never times out. The only thing that times out, unfortunately, is the educational benefits.
Okay.
You have to.
That makes sense. I mean, that's.
Yeah, you have a certain, depending on which era you got out, there are different educational benefits. A lot of them time out after 10 years from separation. So whenever your last year you got out, you have 10 years to utilize those benefits. But the other benefits, no, they don't go away. But however, the longer you're out, anything that you didn't claim or bring to the military's attention before you exit makes an uphill battle. It takes a little longer to claim something that happened because now it may take a little longer because you say 10 years you're out on the street, but you served in, Iraq during the whole,
right.
All the oil chemicals and all that kind of stuff. Now it's an uphill battle to how do you prove if it's not in your records because
right.
you didn't tell anybody or, yes, they're doing better with record keeping. But it wasn't that many years ago when everything was in paper form and there was a fire at the Ark where they were keeping the records. And a lot of people from Vietnam and World War II, their records were burned up.
Right.
So it's an uphill battle. Now that's where the Comp Act came into play. That's one that you've heard about probably on the news that they brought up from time to time is now they're doing better at those people that served in, North Carolina, where they had the chemicals in the water,
right, yeah,
where they served overseas, and all the residue from the oil and all that. They're doing much better for those individuals,
right.
But unfortunately, like I said, does it time out? No. I mean, I work with the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs, who told me that they had met a 98-year-old veteran who never had any services until his granddaughter reached out and asked, for help. And 98 years old, he finally got all the services that he was intended to because they fast tracked everything because of his age.
Right.
They were able to provide all the services he needs to make it the rest of his life more comfortable.
That's great. That is great. So let's run through before we run out of time today on our first show to really explain Mission United. Can you give me a walkthrough of like a typical, not that there's a lot of typical going on because everything's a little bit different. Yeah. But let's say just something that might happen. We got a veteran, his name is Joe, and he's having issues. He would call you guys, and what kind of services would you supply to Joe, assuming that Joe is he's out of work, his health hasn't been great, and he's losing his place to live with his wife and his child. What would happen with somebody like that?
Well, definitely. They would call our number, or they can call 211. It's the easiest number to remember, 211. It's a nationwide. You'll call our 211, which is if you're in Broward, and we'll connect you to an individual who's trained in all their services. So Joe would say, hey, listen, I'm having issues. I'm a veteran. that person's brain automatically kicks over to the veteran side. Okay, so they pull up all the veterans. They start the process for us because we have a very close connection with them. We've given them all the intake paperwork. So they start the process. What are your issues? What do you need? They fill out all that paperwork. And then if it's, during our normal working hours, they're going to give us a call.
Right.
If not, they'll hey, listen, they'll take the veteran's information. So I'm going to call tomorrow. I'm going to set you up an appointment. You'll come in, you'll sit with the individuals. So that's why it was, okay, we always do the hierarchy of needs. What is the most important thing? Housing. Okay, so we're going to start that and work it down. So, okay, so do you need first month's, last month rent? We can pay the security deposit. We can even help with moving if needed be. Now, for the first 6 months, we'll take care of the rent. But after that, if you continually need help, we can pay up to half your rent for the next year and a half. So you can receive about 2 years of rental support from us.
Wow.
So unlike the other bureaucrats, fortunately, the Broward County Rental Association is they're trying to help people with their rent. They're backlogged. It could take up to 4 months just to get.
I was just going to say this. Joe is on a tight time schedule where he's going to be homeless shortly. He gets to see you pretty quick, and this ball gets rolling faster than it does with other organizations.
Correct.
Right?
Yes, because we, like I said,
you don't have the red tape.
Yeah. We don't have a lot of red tape. Now, we can't promise immediately that we can put them in a place. We may have to put them somewhere temporary. Now, we do have the capability, if we needed to, that we could put them in an extended stay. Those long-term rental, hotel rooms. We can put them there as we work because we have connections. Not only do we have our own places that we manage, that we actually own, we actually have a connection with landlords that we're like, hey, listen, as soon as something comes available, they let us know, and then we work it out. So even if the veteran, say we put them in a rental place for a very low rent, and we're taking care of all the rent and all their utilities and everything they need, if there's anything that arises between the tenant and the landlord, we can intervene on that.
Okay.
We can work that out. If there's an issue with paying rent or whatever, the landlord can always call us, and that way we can work it out.
Because you're directly involved. This
Yes.
isn't like a voucher system
No.
that you're working through.
Yep.
This is directly,
Yeah.
we have the funds to help you to do this. And it sounds to me like, instead of months, you can get this done in what? Days, weeks?
It possibly depends on the situation because each
each one's a little bit different, sure.
But yeah, we can move much quicker than some of the other, those that are funded. Like I said, is Broward County Rental Assistance Program that was very highly used during the COVID period. There's a backlog because a lot of the community partners ran out of funding. There's a lot of them that no longer have funds for rental assistance. We don't have that issue.
Okay.
All right. So that way we can streamline that red tape out. Now, we can't promise somebody could be in a week, but we're going to do everything we can to get them quicker.
But you'll be moving quicker to begin with.
Yeah. They just don't go into a queue and sit there.
Well, no, you're not doing magic. You're but they're involved in the process.
Yep.
Now, I love this. Joe and his family, now you've helped them secure a place. And he's like, okay, well, I got to take care of my health and I got to get a job. Now, do you guys, is that where you guys say, not our problem?
No.
Or what do you do at that point?
That's another one of what we call our pillars is the health of stuff. So we work very closely with the VA, we can help them with that. If they're not receiving services, we have community partners that we work with. Like Nova University has a phenomenal dental program because it's one of the services that the VA doesn't cover. So they can offer with our veterans, they can give them free dental service at no cost to them and their family. And if there's anything else, we work with community. If it's a mental health issue, we work with quite a few community partners that will, next to nothing, or we can work it out on some payment plan or something. So we'll work it out one way or the other, the health thing that they will be taking care as well as the family members.
Okay.
We even have employees who actually work in the Broward County school system. They actually go to the schools every day. They're there for these dependents to talk to them. What issues are you having at home? How can we help you? Because we can't just think of just the vets. There's a lot of, mental issues that go on with being homeless or the threat of becoming homeless. So that affects the entire family. So we provide that support to the family as well. We just don't we're just helping the vet. We're not helping the kids. No. We have somebody in the school system. That's their job, is to be that person for the students.
Wow. So you're connected through the vet, but your services are for the whole family. It's for the whole unit to thrive and survive. And like I said, so you help them out, and he's got a place. And this is our guy Joe that we're talking about. He's got a place. He's now got some health issues taken care of. He's feeling good. Now he wants to find a job, and he also wants to learn better skills at taking care of himself and taking care of his family. And okay, so now you're going to help me get this. How am I going to maintain it? Do you guys help all the way through with all of that too?
Certainly, that's another one of the pillars we work with. We have an engagement department. Employment. Now, we're not a staffing agency or an American Job Center Career Source, but we do have educated individuals who have skill sets in helping people find work, whether it's helping them write a better resume, helping them with their interview techniques. We work with community partners to help, God, their name escapes me at the moment, but we have a community partner that has a clothing closet that we can send them over and they can get interview attire. So we work with them. Now, one of our biggest partners is Career Source, which is American Job Center. We work with them. We work with the employers directly. They let us know what they're looking for. We can connect the two of them. Plus also we work with a lot of the colleges. We have an inside with them on trying to help them get the certification they need. And that's another one of our bigger community partners is Career Source has a program where they can help the veterans get a certification or increase in a skill set that they need. Plus, we work with community partners and employers for on-the-job training. Well, what if he doesn't have all the skill sets, or what if their skill set is kind of out of date? We can work with those employers to get their foot in the door to get that training program going. And then we'll track them through the whole process until they no longer need that services from us.
So either directly or indirectly, you try to be there in every step, in every phase. Indirectly when it's not one of your specialties or one of your skill sets or one of your mission parameters, you send them to somebody who it is. So not just say, well, call these guys. You have relationships with these guys and say, hey, listen, would you like me to help you set an appointment with this and do that and do that? Yeah. So one last one that could be an issue is, what about legal? If they're in some sort of legal bind, do you guys connect them with services also? Because I know there are some services for vets for legal representation.
Actually, we work very closely. My boss, James Heaton, is a lawyer and used to be with the Young Lawyers Association with Fort Lauderdale. So we have a close connection with them in legal aid because he used to work with legal aid. So we can actually provide that. They don't have to worry about scheduling an appointment. We'll work that out. We actually have a contract. Collaboration, I'm going to say contract with legal aid, that we have an individual that we have a vet that needs anything with legal issues. We'll have them sit down together and work it out. What do they need? And then we have a community group that we're working with the lawyers is either pro bono or see if they can help the veteran at no cost. So those are a lot of the connections that we have, not only because of Mission United Way, but our own personal connections. Like so my boss, the lawyer, has that personal connection with the lawyer groups. So we're helping build that stronger there so that they don't have to worry about that. And one of the cool things about Broward and even Miami is they actually have a court they call a veterans court. Is where a veteran can actually request that their case be held in front of a judge who's a veteran, as well as lawyers. Everybody in the legal system are all veterans.
Wow.
So that they can actually go in there and plead their case with somebody who they can relate to. They don't feel intimidated because when the veteran goes in there, he or she is talking to people who have been in their shoes, who've gone through a lot of the same stuff they do, who always have that small, regardless what branch you're in, they have that small connection because we're vets. And things go much. They can plead their case for their disability, can they get it upgraded to a better, rating to get better services? Right. That's one of the other services that we help them with legal aid and help them through.
Wow. There's so much going on now. This is all good and fine if Joe wants to call you and ask for help. What if you've got a veteran in your life? Maybe they're homeless or on the edge of homelessness. Maybe they're ill and something. Can somebody else call for them? I mean, I know that's a slippery slope, but the husband Joe doesn't want to accept help. Now, this is women too. I mean, it could be Jane. Yeah. I'm just not saying it's all men.
Yeah.
Most of them are, but not all. But Joe's got a problem. His wife, Jill, wants him to get help, but he doesn't want help. Can she still call you for anything? I mean, can you do anything if they don't want?
There's nothing that says anywhere that a friend, spouse, neighbor, concerned individual can't call us and ask. But when it comes down to the individual has to be willing to accept the help. We can't force them. Now, while the law says that you can, Baker Act, somebody, but that's outside our scope. We can't force anybody to receive the services. Now, we do actually, not only in here, but in Miami, we actually send representatives down to the courthouse to try to meet with these vets to let them know these services are available so they don't have to go in alone. Because, unfortunately, like I said, is trying to get that information. They come down, they find out through a community partner there's a veteran court. We send reps down there to go, hey, listen, you're going to let us work with you and the judge, and we can go in there and go, okay, judge, this is what he's got. Let us help them in order to reduce the charges. We can't promise anything, but at least we can try with the help of legal aid, go in there and say, listen, we're here to support and see if we can make changes to this individual, make them more part of the community.
So I want to go back to that. I like that. And I want to go back to so if the family member calls, if they're not willing, call and get information.
Yes.
You guys are willing to, she could say, what can I tell him? And you could say, well, listen, this is what's available if you want to present it to him.
Yes.
But they should be doing that with the VA. They should do that with the United Way, Mission United, all those services. If you have somebody who's struggling and not responsive or doesn't want help, you could still do research. So at least you can, it's the old thing like leaving the pamphlet on the coffee table so that maybe they'll read it kind of deal, right?
Yeah, I've actually had that happen to me is where I've had people actually, I'm not sure how they got my number. I had a lovely lady call me from Jacksonville. I'm not sure how she got my number, who directed her to me, but apparently a nephew had been killed in action and wanted to know where she could schedule a bugler for somebody to play at the funeral, which, is so I'm like, when I got a lot more details, I'm like, hold on a second. So I reached out to, the VFW and American Legion in her area. And I'm like, hey, do you have these services? And they're, well, yeah. So I'm like, I asked her, do you have any, you want to call them or can I just have them call you? And so that's what I did was I connected the two of them that they reached out and helped her through the process, how to get the, the flag presented, how to get fuel. I even had a couple call me from up in Pensacola, and their father was, needed day-to-day care, and they're from a different state and they weren't sure. So I connected them with, I said, I know of them, but I don't know if they can help you or not. So I connected them with the VA resource on their national number in Tallahassee that they could reach out to see if they could get somebody or find out if there's a service provided that they could help so they could go back to work. So it doesn't matter. Anybody can call, brother, sister, mother, friend, because we're more than happy to share the information.
Absolutely. If you want more information about the Mission United project, and we'll be talking about this ongoing here on Battlefront to Homefront podcast, we're going to have guests we're going to be talking to at different times. Sometimes it'll be just you and I. We got so much to unpack. We could probably spend several shows just explaining all of these different things and going into more detail. We definitely want to talk more about, the transitioning from active service to I guess life on the outside or integrating into society, where are the holes there and how you guys help with that as well. So many things we want to talk about, but go to unitedway.org/Mission United. It's right there on the screen, unitedway.org/Mission United. The phone numbers are there. All the information's there about what they do. And if you don't see it, ask though, right?
Yep.
Because you can't list everything you're connected to. There's not enough space on the internet for that.
Yeah, we're trying. We're actually working to our IT department is actually working to add an event calendar to our website so that people can see about events that are upcoming that are geared toward, veterans and their family, like a veteran stand down, or, like we just had our turkey drive where we gave out about 600 boxes of food to needy families.
That's a good point. Not everything you do is a desperation move. You're also just doing great community stuff as well.
Yeah.
With Mission United and especially with our veterans in the community. But yeah, you got all the events, all the different stuff. You've been doing this how long now with Mission United?
I've been with Mission United directly about 8 months, but I've partnered with them through when I worked for Career Source for going on about a little over about 7 years now.
Okay. Before we close out today, I would love to end on a positive note. Can you share any story about somebody who got help, who changed their lives and went on to thrive, and without using their real names, obviously?
Yeah. Actually, about a couple weeks ago, I did an event in Sunrise, Tamarack area. I forgot what they called that event. I actually met a gentleman who was working for another community partner. And when we were talking about it, he actually told me his story where he had lost his job, developed some health issues, and he reached out to our center, our lovely Marcellus. If you ever get to meet that gentleman, he's a lovely gentleman, great big heart. And they started working together, and now they got him in what they call Section 8 housing, where they're paying, helping him low rent, and he's got a job. And he's blossoming and he's doing much better. And that was phenomenal to meet somebody that, we provide all these services and actually have somebody who's now giving back, because he was part of our panel talking to veterans about what he went through and his community partner and how they're helping vets and giving back.
Wow. Well, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Yeah, I mean, it's obvious it doesn't work for everybody. Every once in a while, there's things that happen, or because of whatever mental health or whatever it could be, there's things that can go wrong. But it's good to know that there's somebody out there trying to do it right every time, and you guys are doing that. Any message you want to send out there to the vets out there who are suffering and not knowing that there's help?
All I can tell them is you're not alone. I mean, I'm a disabled vet. I understand, some level. I mean, you don't have to go through it alone. Let us help you. Doesn't take much just to ask, or even small or large, whatever it is. That's what we're here for. Veterans are here to support other veterans, and a big, huge community is there for you. Just all you have to do is just ask.
There we go. Can't say it better than that. I want to thank all of you for watching. Sean and I will be back every month. We'll be back with new topics and new discussions. And if you want to have any information shared with you, you have any questions, put a comment in here when we air it, whether it's on YouTube, you're watching it on LinkedIn, or you're watching it on Facebook, wherever you're watching it. If you put a comment in, we read the comments, and then we can answer your questions. You could also reach out directly to me at Sober Life Studios, or you can reach out directly to Sean. And I'll give you his home number, and you call. He loves to be called at 2 a.m. I'm kidding. Go to missionunited.org. unitedway.org/Mission United is right there on your screen. Go there. You get all the contact information you need. Do you want to add your own contact?
Or like I said, you can always remember dial 211. And when you get it, and tell them, if you want to talk to me directly, call 211 and say, hey, listen, can you connect me to Sean MacPhee? I want to talk to him. Call me, email me, text me, smoke screen. I'm an old quartermaster semaphore, whatever it works, when in doubt, like I said, if you can't remember any of the numbers, just dial 211 and tell them that you're a veteran and what you need, and they'll take it from there.
One last thing I want to add, the hustle and bustle of the holiday season is upon us. Please remember, the important thing is that we spend time with our families. We get together with our friends. Don't get wrapped up in all the spending. Don't get wrapped up in all the hype. And please, please don't get all wrapped up in the drinking and the drugging. Don't do that. Enjoy your time with your family. Gather around the Christmas tree, drink some eggnog, and have a great time. All right. For Battlefront to Homefront podcast, I'm Scott Jones, Sean MacPhee. Thank you very much for joining us. We will catch you next time. Bye-bye.